Welcome to the Eco Generation Travel Agency.
Let's take a closer look at the deserts of the world.
Here you can see a few of the world's deserts.
Notice that most of the deserts are around the 30 latitude mark. This is due to Hadley-style air currents. Warm air heated by the sun rises at the equator, carrying a lot of water from the surface of the earth. As it travels towards the 30 latitude mark, it cools down and loses moisture. It falls to the earth's surface more or less at 30 latitude, and then is heated up by the earth's surface. Because warm air holds more moisture than cool air, it draws water from the earth, forming a hot desert.
Soils often have a plethora of nutrients and minerals with low organic content. The plant coverage is sparse but wide-ranging. Most plants in deserts have adapted to droughts and high sodium levels. Although most deserts get less than 20 centimeters per year of precipitation, when desert storms occur, they are actually extremely violent.
Primary producers in the desert include small plants. Primary consumers in the desert include insects such as grasshoppers. Secondary consumers include rodents such as the kangaroo rat or another animal called the antelope ground squirrel. Tertiary consumers include predatory birds such as the hawk or other non-mammalian vertebrates such as reptiles. Hawks can also be apex predators. Welcome to the hot desert. Here we have warm temperatures all year round, very hot temperatures in the summer, little rainfall, and we have daily extremes because there is little humidity in the air to mediate temperature. Wow, look at all this wonderful soil. It's so coarse because all of the finer particles have blown off into the wind into some other place in the world. This soil happens to be so coarse because there is very little chemical weathering here. It also happens to be made largely out of sand. And sand has a very large particle size, so this soil has great drainage, and there is very little subsurface water. Dominant animals in this area include burrowing animals and kangaroo rats. You can also find other animals here, such as insects, arachnids, various types of lizards, crawly things, and snakes, and birds like the roadrunner. Some of these animals have adapted to be inactive during the very, very, very hot day to save their energy and water, and instead come out during dawn, dusk, or cooler times of the day to forage and gather food. In the hot desert, there are a lot of ground shrubs and small woody trees, even though you can't see anything in this picture other than camels and sand. But you won't see a great oak growing in the desert because canopy trees rarely get enough water to actually grow in the desert. Likewise, a lot of the plants here have adapted to the very arid conditions. For example, a lot of them have small leaves and a glossy covering over those leaves called cuticle, which help prevent water loss during transpiration. Cacti and other plants have developed the ability to photosynthesize using their needles, which greatly reduces the surface area through which water can be lost during transpiration.
Welcome to the coastal desert, which occurs in moderately cool to warm areas. Here, the winters are cool and the summers are warm, and the average annual rainfall is 8 to 13 centimeters. And do you see this amazing soil? It's very fine and porous with great drainage and only a moderate salt content. And although you can't see them in this area, there are actually a multitude of different types of plants, such as the buckwheat bush, the salt bush, black sage, and chrysanthemums. There are also different animals that live here, many of which with specialized adaptations that help them deal with the heat and lack of fresh water.
Hi guys, I'm in the semi-arid desert now. Summers here are long and dry, and winters have very low concentrations of rainfall. Cool nights, luckily, reduce moisture loss from plants and animals lost in transpiration. And they also allow water to condense into a liquid form for those animals and plants so they can survive. If I pick up some of the soil over here, I can tell that it ranges from sandy and fine to very loose rock, and non-weathered materials. It also has a very low salt concentration when compared with deserts that have more rain. Little to no surface water exists, and it also has good drainage. Animals here have adapted to survive in these very dry and hot conditions. Some of these animals find protection in underground burrows to escape the heat during the day. Animals that survive in these climates include kangaroo rats, rabbits, and skunks, insects such as grasshoppers and ants, reptiles such as lizards and certain types of snake, and birds such as the burrowing owl. Here, plants are much like the plants in the hot desert. For example, many plants have adapted to minimize the water loss during transpiration by developing needles, such as the cactus, or developing wool, which performs more or less the same function. Leaves here are also small and usually glossy, and this gloss helps reflect the sunlight to prevent water loss during the heating of the plant, and also water loss during transpiration. Some plants here include the creosote bush, burr sage, white thorn, cat claw, and brittle bushes.
Welcome to a cold desert. With locations in the Antarctic, Greenland, and the Nearctic realm, our winters are long, cold, and have lots of snowfall, and our summers are short and moist with moderately warm temperatures. The soil here is heavy, silty, and salty, but in the more porous areas, there are alluvial fans which have leached out most of the salt content. The plants are scattered and range in height from 15 to 122 centimeters. And the main plants here, most of which have spiny leaves, are deciduous. These amazing deserts are the habitat for animals like jackrabbits, kangaroo mice, antelope ground squirrels, pocket mice, and more. Lizards and carnivores like badgers and coyotes also live in these deserts.
So what desert do you want to go to?